Welcome to the Neckbeard experience. Today we have the Tale of Iowabeard. I want to give a special thanks to the author who allowed me to read her story. I want to go ahead and mention my special thanks and great appreciation for the artwork of the new face for Fun with Failure. They did an amazing job, and I just want to give my thanks. I couldn't say enough about it. I love it. Well, without much ado, let's get going. I made a Reddit account just for this story. It must be told. I know that what you're about to hear sounds larger than life, that it's totally unreal. Trust me, I wish it wasn't real. Here's a disclaimer. I did not post this to attack or bully anyone. I merely needed to ensure that my story was told, given that a lot of this happened years ago. Not all the conversations were word for word, but they are recreated in the best of my ability. Now that that's out of the way, it's time to begin. And just for storyteller's sake, I will call the author Tesha, which in Greek means survivor. I think it was appropriate. I hope she does too. Now, this is the tale of the worst person I have ever met. Everyone, I introduce you to Iowabeard. I first met Iowabeard when he moved to our hometown in 6th grade. He moved there in the middle of the year. I saw him in the hall, wandering around. He looked lost and alone. He was searching for his class. Something inside me compelled me to help him. At the time, I thought this was a simple act of kindness toward someone who's completely new to the area. Little did I know, this would turn out to be one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I introduced myself to him, and his eyes lit up. I interpret this as him being happy that someone said hi. Looking back, I was very wrong, but more on that later. Immediately, he was quite off-putting. Despite being 11 or 12, he looked like he was 6 years old, because he was a true baby-face fella. He was quite round, with so much face fat that his eyes were almost nearly eclipsed. No matter what, he would always spike his hair up. That, combined with his glasses, made him look like Kim Jong-un II. The worst part was, he reeked. Absolutely stank up the place. The most pungent body odor imaginable. Not even being masked by body spray? Not like that would do any good, but at least it would have been a kind gesture, besides the fact of actually showering. He introduced himself with a shaky voice. "Hi, I'm Iowabeard. Pleasure to make your acquaintance." A little odd sounding, sure. Still, what's the use in judging someone you don't know?
"Hi, I'm Tesha,"
I told him. He smiled widely. "Tesha. I like that name. I like that name a lot. It's a very nice name." That made me a little uncomfortable. Nevertheless, I decided to show him to his next class. On the way there, he was explaining to me, "I moved from Delaware, and I'm happy to get out of there. That place is full of filthy bullies. They sought every day to ruin my life." Another red flag was slowly rising. It was at this point that I decided that it would be better to show him where his class was, then probably not talk to him again. I brought him to his class, and he asked me like 3 times, "Are you in the same one?" Each time I told him that I wasn't. He made an over-the-top, rage comic style sad face. Then he would ask me the same thing, just reworded. I didn't have the time to stay there. I had class of my own. I had all but forgotten about Iowabeard until English class rolled around. I was happy that I had this class with my boyfriend. Let's call him Nathan. Before you say anything in the comments, yes, I had a boyfriend in 6th grade. I know, you don't really know love at this age. Dating is for an adult. I get that. Okay. Anyways, once I sat down next to Nathan, he started telling me about this new kid. A few minutes later, I had a feeling who he was talking about. I was right. A few minutes later, I smelled that smell. The undeniable smell of Iowabeard. I turned around, and he was standing right behind us. "Ah, Nathan! I see you know Tessa. She's nice, isn't she?" Nathan smiled. "I'd say so." Iowabeard sat next to Nathan, and then the two started talking. I let them go. It was nice to see Nathan trying to be kind to someone who was new, and who had no friends. He was kind at heart, and that's one thing I've always liked most about him. Though I wasn't a big fan of Iowabeard's smell, which was quickly making me feel nauseous. Iowabeard didn't disappear at lunch either. He sat between me and Nathan, trying to talk to both of us. I don't remember what the subject was. All I remember is it made me and Nathan feel very uncomfortable. We all three had the rest of our classes together. When we left out for the day, Iowabeard ran to catch up with us, his body mass jiggling like jello. However, he was quickly dismayed when he saw that his parents had come to pick him up. He threw a small temper tantrum because But I was talking to my new friend. You're ruining my life! And dramatically stormed off. Nathan and I didn't live too far away, so we always walked back home. On our walk, I asked him,
So, why are you hanging out with Iowabeard?
I felt bad for the guy. He was sitting in the back of the class, looking lost and alone. I know what it's like to be the new guy, with no friends. Since I moved to the area only 2 years ago, I don't want this new guy to go through the same thing, so I decided to try to make him my friend. While I acknowledged that Iowabeard was an odd guy, he seemed well-meaning and harmless. I decided to trust his judgment. Maybe Iowabeard was just socially awkward. Maybe with time, he would get some social skills and eventually learn to shower. Oh, how wrong I was. Day after day, Iowabeard would not leave our side unless he had to. He stuck to us like glue. I was uncomfortable, but I decided to let it be. After all, he wasn't hurting anybody. We were also learning a lot about him, and that did not help me like him any better. He eventually made it painfully clear that I'm a proponent for admiring the female backside. He also loved violent video games to an excessive degree and was an aspiring writer. One day me and Nathan offered to read some of his stories so that we can give him some feedback. He proceeded to give us several pages of thick story filled with sexism, racism, and a lot of typos. How can you misspell "the" so many times? It was a headache. When he asked what we thought of it, we decided to sugarcoat it. He ignored any semblance of criticism and went on to say, I know, I'm an amazing author, and I'm happy I've got new fans. Sure, we're fans, I guess. The rest of the year was like this. I didn't really like Iowabeard, and I said this to Nathan. He agreed. Still, Nathan wanted to stay friends with him because he wanted to help him out. Over time, he developed a bad reputation. The reason why was he was often seen staring at girls' butts, and he would throw legendary temper tantrums when he had bad grades, which happened a ton in fact. He barely passed 6th grade. His bad typing skills weren't just his stories, but also his reports. They were a mess. When he would trade his essays for peer review, whoever got it ended up dousing it with red ink. Most of the time, he would storm over to them and give them an earful, basically accusing them, You're just bullies who don't know how to identify quality work. I think you're just jealous. The only times he didn't go on a rant and attack someone is when Nathan or myself was editing the essay. He'd just look at one of us and say, Thank you, and ignored what we had to say about it. He ended up getting something like a C- or a D+ at best. He even told us that he barely passed 6th grade. That summer, Iowabeard would stop over at Nathan's house, sometimes uninvited. He would justify his unannounced visits by saying, That's just what people do in Delaware. I'm not sure that's true. Can anyone in Delaware really confirm this? I doubt it. Besides, I thought he said everyone in Delaware were bullies. When Nathan and I would talk, he'd always have some kind of crazy story about Iowabeard. Some of the ones I remember are about how he played Smash Brothers. He would never hit a female fighter because it's rude to hit a lady. And he would get mad every time the computer would randomly pick a female fighter, to the point where Nathan had to start the battle over until he had an all-male roster. He would ask Nathan, Who's your favorite big bottom girls? Nathan never answered that, which made Iowabeard angry. However, this didn't stop him from going on about his TV shows, movie characters, and other characters' butts that he liked. One time he was over at Nathan's house for dinner, and his mom cooked spaghetti. Iowabeard said, I can tell you these noodles are very low quality because they're so easy to cut. Needless to say, it was quite a while before Iowabeard was invited back to Nathan's house. I wasn't without my summer without Iowabeard. Whatever few times we happened to bump into each other, he would constantly ask me for my phone number. When I declined, over and over, he would latch on to me, not leaving until I myself left. This even happened when Nathan and I were going to the movie theater or to the local retro arcade. The guy would never leave us alone. 7th grade was much more the same. There's not a lot I want to share here that's not redundant, but I'll share some amusing moments. Iowabeard showed up to lunch one day with a 3-ring binder, and he told us, This is my super bottom collection. Inside were pictures of characters like Bessie from Back at the Barnyard, and Maria from Total Drama, or the sister from Paranorman. Page after pages of pictures of my beloved super bottoms. I was very disgusted. I, being a girl, did not take it too kindly that a guy was openly objectifying women right in front of me. Nathan was also uncomfortable. Despite how many times we told him that we didn't like it and how uncomfortable it made us, he kept on describing his favorite super bottoms and what qualities of their butts did he like the most. Even the two of us telling him that it was unbelievably creepy would not deter him. Sure enough, word of his infamous super bottom binder spread all across school, and people began to make fun of him. As if it wasn't bad enough, he always had the worst comebacks. This one actually happened. Some guy shouted, "Hey Iowabeard, have a nice jerk-off session with Gloria the Hippo!" Iowabeard shouted back, "It wasn't Gloria, it was Flair the Core." One day, Iowabeard tried to challenge the math teacher to a debate to prove that the math teacher was only giving him an F because he was trying to bully him. Not even giving him detention stopped him from going on a rant. His smell was getting worse. But this is where he discovered Axe body spray. Now, not only did he smell like a walking dumpster, now he smells like one that's covered in a gallon of chemicals. Charming, truly charming. He tried out for both the school musical and the football team, but he didn't make either. Apparently, according to him, both of those groups must have paid off the people in charge to not let me join, because they're just too scared of my power and might. Well, that's what he told us. And everyone who would listen, we had to believe him, because that's the only thing that made sense, right? I mean, who wouldn't want a increasingly rotund, tone-deaf, emotionally unbalanced, arrogant, socially awkward, touchy-feely, stinky boy to give it to someone who's more qualified? That's nonsense. Nathan went over to Iowabeard's house for the first time, and he met his parents, who turns out ran a tight ship. When Iowabeard told them about what trouble he got into that day, there was a big fight, which Iowabeard would apparently escalate, even though his parents tried to wait until they didn't have company over. Nathan also met Iowabeard's older brother, who was actually the total opposite. He was kind, he was well groomed, he wouldn't make any awkward comments about women's butts every 10 minutes, which it turned out he was adopted. Because of the stories above, Nathan was wanting to distance himself from Iowabeard. Frankly, I felt it was a dream come true. Iowabeard was becoming more aggressive, and he was upping his attempt to attract the super bottom. He also had a new target, me. See, I'll be the first to admit, my rear end is on the bigger side. I haven't struggled with body issues a ton. I, for the most part, have been relatively comfortable with who I am and how I look. However, the closest I have gotten to feeling bad about my body was when Iowabeard started making his advances toward me. He had particular interest in my butt, calling me things like, "You're my booty queen," or, "You're rumpalicious." This bothered me a lot, but he remained undeterred. After all, it's good to appreciate a woman's features, especially when she's been given such a gift. Whenever I would tell the teacher about this, the little demon would proudly open up about it, unable to grasp how I could possibly have a problem with it. Needless to say, many detentions was given to him. Around the start of 8th grade, Iowabeard was now finally ready to confess his feelings for me, which he did in a crowded hallway, and while Nathan was standing right beside me. I didn't have time to reject him, because Nathan stepped in to tell Iowabeard that we were dating. He didn't believe him. It took me having to confirm this that finally got him to understand. He then accused me of leading him on, despite the fact that not only that I was taken was extremely obvious, but we had told him we were dating many times before. I guess he chose to ignore that, or to have memory issues. Iowabeard wasn't done yet. He exploded at Nathan, accusing him, saying, "You're stealing my queen from me! I liked her first!" Need I remind you, Nathan and I have been together since he arrived. The teacher would tell him to calm down, or he would get detention. He blew up at the teacher, and proceeded to summarize his version of what happened. Well, this backfired, causing him to get another detention. He stormed off while declaring, "Nathan, we are now mortal enemies, and there will be war that will not end until I win her over." That year, we had an English class with an amazing teacher. We'll call him Mr. Williams, because he sounded and acted a lot like Robin Williams. This guy was great. He was one of those teachers that lived for his job, so he was extra motivated to make sure that every student succeeded. That, and he said time and time again that he knew some of the people in his class had a passion for reading and writing, so it was up to him to encourage these people so that they would pursue their goals. Everyone loved Mr. Wilson, except Iowabeard. Apparently, over that summer, he had taken to writing fan fiction. He never posted it anywhere, but he had a lot of it on file. He wrote a fair few amount of stories, and he had them printed off, constantly bragging that he was going to get them published, then become the most famous fan fiction author in the world. That's not how it works. Actually, that would be breaking a lot of copyright laws, but whatever. Anyways, he gave one to Mr. Williams early on in the school year, and he asked him, "What do you think of my finest masterpiece?" I wasn't there to prove it, but Iowabeard himself said that Mr. Williams attacked his writing, so Iowabeard lashed out to defend himself. Really? Knowing Mr. Williams, what really must have happened was that he had a few suggestions on how to fix the spelling and grammar, and Iowabeard didn't take it well. That's how I see it. From that day forward, Mr. Williams became the next addition to Iowabeard's enemy list. He would badmouth Mr. Williams in front of everybody, accusing him of academic harassment. He also cranked his bad grade temper tantrums up to 11 with Mr. Williams, likely believing that he was going through some kind of impressive anime transformation while he was doing it. Mr. Williams, being the saint he was, offered Iowabeard to stay after school and help him with his writing, which his parents forced him to do. It didn't make much difference though. He still basically wrote gibberish, and the flirting increased. Time and time again, he would walk in between me and Nathan, openly admitting that he's trying to split us up, only he would describe it as, "I'm saving you from this unfitting and abusive relationship. Fear not, you shall be with your true man shortly." Each time he said something like this, I held back from vomiting, while Nathan stared daggers at Iowabeard. Periodically, he would thrust his fan fiction into my lap, or Nathan's lap. To me, it was apparently a weapon of mass seduction that he was trying to use to win over his future bride. To Nathan, they were threats, being used as a way to intimidate Nathan because he was going against such a talented writer. These epic tales never succeeded in their primary objective. Now on to the 9th grade. This is where things got really bad. Iowabeard became really interested in sexuality, like more so than usual. Maybe it was because his brother was enlisting in the Navy. Maybe it was because Mr. Williams got a job as the 9th grade English teacher, and that Iowabeard was forced to handle this abuse even more. I just don't know, and I really don't care. But he started getting dangerous. All the while, he would say things like, "You're my booty queen," or "You're my super bottom of choice." He still lusted after every girl in our grade, growing increasingly obvious. With his staring and drooling, he would even reach out and touch them sometimes, which never ended well for poor Iowabeard. That wasn't the only major development. You know that fan fiction he wrote? Well now, he started publishing them for all to see. That's right. Now the whole world could easily go to the World Wide Web and see Iowabeard's craziness on full display. At first, they were horrible, but somewhat readable. As time went on, however, more and more people found the fanfiction account and began to give his stories negative reviews. The main criticism was his horrible spelling, his racism, sexism, homophobic, etc. Plus his terrible spelling. This didn't sit well with Iowabeard. He went so far as to accuse Nathan by saying stuff like, "Stop sending an army of trolls and bullies and haters to my fanfiction page." Naturally, Nathan just laughed this off. So Iowabeard decided to tell the whole school about this, which only caused more people to find his page and laugh and joke about it, which made him angrier. Rinse and repeat several times over. Perhaps a worse consequence of this was that Nathan, the very person these stories were meant to intimidate, was unable to stop reading them. The very day one was posted, he would call me up, give me a dramatic reading of his own. I never found them too funny, but it was nice to hear him having fun. Besides, he's got a cute laugh. things got out of hand when some YouTubers got a hold of this fanfiction. They started doing dramatic readings themselves, typos and all. This caused Iowabeard to snap, vowing revenge on these people. So he decided to write them into his stories as villains, and they would systematically be killed off. I only know this because those are the readings that Nathan would give me. When an overweight, sex-starved maniac with a god complex who goes to your school writes stories about killing YouTubers, that tends to stick with you. Once again, these threats did not have any effect. The YouTubers in the fanfiction didn't even notice. To him, this must have been an indication that he can do whatever he wanted, and there would be no consequences. I think you all know where this is going. Iowabeard did a lot of one-shot fanfictions, rarely writing more than one chapter. However, he did have one lingering story on his page. It was the ongoing saga of Batman and Iowabeard's self-insert, who would go to Gotham City. He often misspelled this Gotham City, killing the various assortment of baddies that were either in the comics or of his own creation. These were all standard self-insert fare. The self-insert was always the smartest, the strongest, the most skilled, the most intelligent, while everyone else were bumbling idiots who basically worshipped the ground he walked on. Nathan seemed to like these the most, as they are basically Iowabeard's literary masturbation. However, they wouldn't always be funny. One time Nathan was reading one of the fanfictions to me over the phone, then he went dead silent. I asked him what was wrong. What he said next caused me to freeze. That psycho wrote you into a story.
No, that can't be right. He wouldn't.
I thought to myself, how foolish I was. He could, and he did. There was a character with my name, had my physical description down to the tiniest detail, and was in an abusive relationship with a boy named Nathan, who beat her all day in and out. I was mortified. He wrote me in as a living sex doll. Not 10 sentences would go by without some character or the narrator talking about my butt, or how Iowabeard's character was destined to be with her. Keep in mind, this wasn't something he sent to me. Oh no, this was on the internet. The very visible internet. People were seeing this, likely people we knew. Luckily, those who reviewed it were not too kind to him, so at least there's that. It didn't stop there. He was also writing about Super Smash Bros., fanfiction that was supposed to be the longest in history. He succeeded with that, but only because he kept spamming the phrase, "Praise Jesus!" for over 100 chapters. Back to the point. He wrote me in again, this time as Peach, still making constant references to my butt and how his self-insert was hoping to marry her and give her married butt love. I had it with him. Luckily, by the time that he posted that, sophomore year was about to start, so I only had to wait until then to confront him. A few days before school started, he posted one of these English papers on his fanfiction, using it to attack Mr. Williams on a public website. Few people read it, and no one sided with him. I guess he did this to celebrate that he would no longer have Mr. Williams as a teacher. His motives remain unclear to this day. When confronted about what he did, he remained unapologetic. To him, it was a great honor to be written into one of his stories, let alone multiple. I bothered him about it for days, and he wouldn't give up. Finally, after school one day, he was waiting to be picked up, so I cornered him. And I said something along the lines of this.
Listen here, you fat, smelly slug. If you don't stop writing me and Nathan into your stories, I'm gonna make you miserable. I know your parents don't know what you say about me or what you write. I can easily show them. Get it through your head already. I don't love you. I don't even like you. I love Nathan. I want nothing to do with you or your fetish-fueled garbage.
He looked like he was about to cry, but he showed no pity. Normally, I was this sweet girl who wouldn't hurt a fly. This time was different. Iowabeard was pushing me too far. I had to act. I had to stop him. Yes, I know. I should have told my parents, or his parents, or somebody about this writing. Simply put, I was young and stupid. I felt like I could handle this on my own. I felt like I was strong enough to withstand the storm of Iowabeard's advances. Now, I know different. Turns out, my threat worked. The next Batman story, I was unceremoniously written out, with very little fanfare. Good. It was in an anticlimactic way, but I'm okay with it. I don't think anybody would have been upset about it anyway. That would require someone to actually like his work. Around November, Iowabeard would get into some serious trouble. There was this one girl, let's call her Heather. Heather and I were decent friends, but not that close. Well, I guess she made it into Iowabeard's must-have butts because he straight up squeezed her butt in between classes. I wasn't there to see it, but word traveled around school like wildfire. Iowabeard was suspended, and if what I heard was true, he was also threatened with Heather pressing charges, which she ultimately didn't do. I want to know if it's true or not, but Heather doesn't want to talk about it, so I'll respect her boundaries. People began branding Iowabeard as a bad guy. Nobody would get anywhere near him, not just because of the rank odor. As per usual, Iowabeard wasn't having any of this. He decided he wanted to prove to everyone that he was a good person. No, not a good person, a great person. The best person. The person so good that he would make Mother Teresa look like Hitler. How was he going to accomplish this? With his fanfiction, of course. He started inserting morals into his story. When I say morals, I use that with the loosest of terms. He would insert a generic or bland educational moment, or bend the story to shape to his hateful and uncompromising worldview. Now, I myself am a Christian. I've always been one my whole life. So is Nathan, and so is Iowabeard. What sets our beliefs apart is that I don't believe that everyone who doesn't abide in our faith is evil. Yes, that's what Iowabeard would preach. He even made a story about the Peanuts gang trying to stop the spirit of atheism from taking over their town. Needless to say, this made him look even more like a worse person, especially because by now, a fair few of our class members would read Iowabeard's stories and make fun of them. Everybody knew he was messed up, and it didn't help in the slightest. There was now irrefutable evidence of what he believed, as if people didn't want to get close to him now. Oh boy, you'd think this guy was made of toxic waste. Then, it happened. Something inside of him snapped. No, he didn't run around the school trying to kill anybody. Something far more unexpected happened. Once again, I'm not making this up. This actually happened. Iowabeard was convinced he was a prophet of God. You heard it right. Iowabeard had a dream that God himself told me to write fan fiction and to bring people to him. In return, I will be made a king on earth and a nobleman in heaven. He promised me any woman of my choice to be my queen. Sure, whatever. We all have crazy dreams. I once had a dream I was pulling around the cast of Friends in Antarctica. But this guy, he thought that this was a legitimate calling from the Lord. You want to know how I know? He began telling everyone. I was one of the first, as he obviously needed to inform me that you are to be chosen to be my queen. So you should leave Nathan before you have to suffer the heartbreak of seeing him die for some heavenly attack. Naturally, everyone told him he was absolutely insane. His response? He promised, I'm gonna tell God about you and what you said, and you will be cursed for your blasphemy. I'm not joking. This is the kind of stuff that only Chris Chan was supposed to be capable of believing. His parents, finally seeing that his son was losing his little mind, or whatever he had of it, decided to take him to therapy. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner. Oh well. Beggars can't be choosers. During this time, Iowabeard's fanfiction became a bit more unstable. I guess having to see some shrink every week, constantly hearing this blasphemy over and over again was too much for him. It all came to a breaking point when he ended up stealing someone's story and claiming it was his own. You want to know how I know this? Well, for one thing, all the reviews for the story were slammed with people accusing him of stealing someone else's work. Also, when Nathan asked him about it, Iowabeard completely confessed. Not only that, but he was proud of it. And that's not all. He then followed up with this little gem. Yeah, the original author was trying to expose me and to stop my holy work, so I had to fight back. Nobody attacks a soldier of God like that. I knew what I had to do. He didn't kill the author, but instead, he threatened to dox him. For those who don't know, doxxing is releasing someone's private information, full name, address, etc. on the internet for all to see, usually followed by less desirable things. I don't know how Iowabeard got this information. All I know is that he had it, and he was completely unafraid to use it. He also admitted to sending some of it to the original author to prove that he wasn't bluffing, so the author left the website forever. I don't know if he deleted his account or simply wiped out all of his stories. All I know is that Iowabeard ruined a guy's entire account, and he threatened his well-being. Nathan and I were done with this. Absolutely done. How dare he do something like this? It's like a burglar breaking into someone's house, cutting himself on the glass as he broke through the window, then suing the person who owned the house, then winning. We were going to tell his parents, and maybe even the school. However, we didn't have to. I guess someone else told about Iowabeard's heroic story of blackmail and theft, because his parents found out exactly what happened. School was almost out at this point, so they let him stay. Don't think he went unpunished though. He absolutely was. I'm not sure what specific things happened. That's really none of my business. What I do know, that he was forced into intensive psychiatric treatment. Honestly, it was about time. Over the summer, his original fanfiction account was terminated. Why? Take your guess. His stories were all racist, sexist, homophobic, plagiarized, and threatened violence. I'm sure that all of those were against the rules. I don't know how he took this. I was just happy he was getting the help he needed. He no longer claimed to be a soldier of God. No longer would he write sleazy stories about people he either hated or lusted for. No longer would he attack people like YouTubers or critics who were merely offering basic writing instructions. If all went well, he would be a functioning member of society again. But all didn't go well. He was fine for a while. He even made a second fanfiction account, apparently even making sure that he conducted himself in a normal way. Nathan and I kept reading the stories, not because we enjoyed them. As with all the drama with him that he made with Nathan, we lost whatever enjoyment we had left in them. Now, it was to make sure that we weren't being written in again. By November, things went right back to the way they were. He had a new and improved Super Bottom collection, which he was very fond of showing everyone. This time, nobody was willing to put up with it. Almost everyone gave him a piece of their mind, which, as I'm sure you can guess, he did not like. Seeing everyone betray him like this seemed to make his mental state continue to wither. While he didn't have any more delusions of godhood, his fuse became even shorter. Now almost anything caused him to blow up. If you talked bad about one of his super bottoms or his stories, it was over. Total meltdown. And I guess he had enough with me daring to say that I didn't love him. Why did I say that? He made Twitter and Reddit posts with the sole purpose of asking people in the post about, how can I break Tasha and Nathan up so that I can swoop in, thereby taking what's rightfully mine? I seen the screenshots of his post. They were horrifying and borderline threatening. Nathan and I knew we had no other choice. We were going to get a restraining order. When Iowabeard's family heard about this, they freaked out. Not at us, Iowabeard. The restraining order would cause them to move houses, which they were not willing to do. They begged with us to reconsider. We only agreed to do this. We wanted to punish Iowabeard, not his parents. Iowabeard was also very insistent on not getting restrained. What we decided to do was to give him a 2-week trial period where he would send us a handwritten apology and be on his best behavior. Sure enough, he didn't talk to us for 2 weeks, and he made sure that he was on his best behavior. As a result, we decided to waive the order. This proved to be a mistake. The minute that he knew that we were not going to put a restraining order on him, but to keep a close eye on him, he went right back to his old ways. He is still posting about us on Twitter and Reddit, and they're still vaguely threatening. As I'm writing this, we're meeting with our lawyer again so that we can reopen the restraining order. Unfortunately, this is where the story ends. Iowabeard is still out there, writing terrible fanfiction to this day, still lusting over super bottoms. This guy is a menace to society, but at least he won't be bothering us anymore. We're gonna put a stop to that right now. Why am I posting this? Well, for one, to let my story be heard. I wanted to make sure that my experiences were well documented. Not only that, I wanted to do a little teaching of my own. Everyone out there, if you meet someone like Iowabeard, do not hesitate to put a stop to them. Tell someone. Make a fuss. Don't accept this. No one has a right to treat you like this, regardless of who they are or where they came from. If you don't stop it, you too may fall victim to an Iowabeard. Update. Yes, a lot of people are ending up finding Iowabeard's Reddit, Twitter, and other things. Thanks to that, I've been able to document more of his crazy antics. And oh boy, there's a lot of them. It's clear that he's seen the story, and he's been complaining about it on Reddit. Not only that, but due to his anger, he ended up doxing himself. Me, Nathan, and Heather, and even a girl that wasn't even involved in this. The restraining order is going to happen. We don't feel safe with him, and with all the evidence we have against him, I have zero doubt that we will get it. We have also shown his parents the screenshots of every post of his on social media, pages and pages worth. To say they were heartbroken was an understatement. If you're a parent who adopted a child, gave him everything that he needed to have a good life, ultimately to see public posts calling you abusive, and that he wishes he wasn't part of your family, how would you feel? Things are really falling apart for Iowabeard, sadly. I don't see any signs of improvement. Things can only get worse from here. Those who have found him are trying to make him the next Chris Chan. I'm not for this in the slightest. He's still quite young, and his parents are working on a plan right now. Despite all the evidence, I refuse to believe he's gone too far. In time, maybe, just maybe, everything will be okay with poor Iowabeard. Thank you very much for joining me for this edition of the Neckbeard Experience. I want to give a special thanks to the author for allowing me to read this story. I'm glad that she's willing to find the humor in this. I do agree with her that he's probably not too far gone. He's getting help a lot sooner than some people have. And I've seen worse cases that's actually turned out to be very decent people. So I hope with help he grows out of this. Thank you all for joining me, and until next time, this is Dallas, signing off.